The memorial service for my friend who passed on Monday is in a couple of hours, so I hope this comes out right. Apologies if it does not. An emotional day here, but I'm also resolute, and I think they would want me to keep moving forward on this in either case. I mentioned before my persona, the way I think and talk about myself is that of a 74-year-old kid from a Philly playground. And I've urged you to have an opening statement, a way you think and talk about yourself. I didn't say that I'm also a serial plagiarist. The way I relate to other people and get involved in stories and my own level of communication, my own style of communication is through song lyrics and stories and movie lines and things of that nature to bring a little bit of context to whatever it is I'm about to say. So I hope, first of all, I hope you've been working on your own introductory statement, or how you talk about yourself, or your tell me about yourself statement. I hope you have it. Again, it's foundational, it's fundamental. And so that's, again, a fundamental thing. So, beyond that, I talked about, somebody said to me, well, where do you get all this information, and how does it come to you? It really is from years and years and years of experiences. I was a shitty student. Honestly, my grades in school were not good, and yet I never thought I wasn't smart. It was just the way I extrapolated, the way information was being fed to me didn't work. And to go to the serial plagiarist mode, it's a little bit like Springsteen said. I learned more from a 3-minute record than I ever learned in school. I learned what I know and what I talk about, and my belief system is rooted in what I learned in the Philly playgrounds, which is accountability and connectivity and how to relate to as many people as possible, and being a good teammate and connecting on as many ways as possible. That's the roots of what I learned and my ethos to this day. And then, of course, my career in executive search, introduced me to the lives and stories and backstories of, I don't even know, tens of thousands of people. I like to say I had LinkedIn before LinkedIn ever existed. I joke with some friends, I have a big old Rolodex. That was my database. But every single person on there's name or people I knew, I spoke to, I had some level of hands-on communication with. And I bring it up because that's how I learned. So all these things you're hearing from me are not theoretical. They're anecdotal to stories that have come through my own life and lessons that I've learned. Again, I learned more from a 3-minute record than I ever learned in school. So a story that I thought of today, and then I read a story about Warren Buffett, which is similar. And I wanted to share that with you as well. So years ago, one of my clients was lamenting about an issue he was having with his boss. And he was just vigilant and adamant about how he was going to handle it. Pardon me. And ultimately he said to me, well, if he digs his heels in, I'm going to dig my heels in. And I said to him, great, Andy. Now we have 4 effing heels in the ground. There's no way to run an airline, right? This is no way to develop connection. Is just to dig heels in. But you have an accountability to yourself. If that's the way you want to be, that's the way you want to be. My advice to him and the way I communicated back to him was with an F-bomb and with a story and with a metaphor of 4 heels in the ground, because I was trying to point out to him that the way he was extrapolating things was not going to get anybody anywhere. These are the sorts of lessons that I've learned and carried with me and provided me the sort of education and connectivity and ability to build a business around speaking to people about circumstances in their lives, whether it's, again, helping build careers, helping honestly save marriages and build teams and so forth and so on. So you try to relate to people on a level that they'll get and do it without seeming omnipotent again. I was a shitty student, but I learned more from a 3-minute record than I ever learned in school, and I don't have any problem deeming myself a serial plagiarist, because it's a means to an end to get the sort of stuff across that I do. So I just read a story. So, it's about accountability, and in the story of this guy with the heels in the ground. And just for whatever it's worth, and I'll put a link to the story I just read. So I read a story about shareholder meetings just a little bit ago. And most of the really big companies, their shareholder meetings, they're not ruses. They're not shams, but they're not particularly real in real time. Apple does, they have one, of course, but they do theirs online. But when Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, when they had their shareholder meetings, they were live and in person. They were real and real time events, connectivity events. And people waited in line to get in because they were so eager to hear and to learn and to hear the messaging of the what's his name? The Oracle of Omaha, Mr. Buffett. Obviously a very smart guy. And they waited in line, literally, and he made it real. He made it in real time, real connection. And the story I read is he talked about who he was and his personality, and in this case, the story of accountability. And the article, it was a Forbes article, and it said, Buffett teaching lessons in 5 words. I alone am accountable. I guess that's 4, so maybe it was one other word, but I alone am accountable for this. This is my fault. And he told a story about losing a big chunk of change. I mean, they don't do much small. But back in the day, Buffett and Co., Berkshire Hathaway, invested quite a bit of money in Berkshire Hathaway, in Paramount Pictures. And again, they didn't do anything without intense research and intense due diligence. He was a very responsible guy, and that's how Berkshire Hathaway grew to be who they were with the reputation they had. But in this case, his investment in Paramount failed. And they, Berkshire Hathaway and all of their investors lost a ton of dough. And Buffett, at this shareholder meeting, talked about it straight up, straight on, and he took immediate accountability. He said, this alone was my fault. I made the investment. I messed up. And so this, again, is a lesson in communication and a lesson in connectivity, not a lesson in hiding, not a lesson in digging heels and, well, the dog ate my homework, or this was somebody else's fault. And there's really only one Warren Buffett. And it's because he's one of the very few people, unlike many of the internet gurus and whiz-bangs of today, who does not mind accountability, who does not shy away from being accountable, and who understands that connection is currency. So when you hear me talk about being accountable, there's power in it. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to F up. We're all human. But to pretend otherwise is a ruse. And so again, when you're accountable, you're modeling behavior. And you're also tearing down a wall that allows other people in. And to have yet another level of accountability and connectivity, which is what this is all about. You don't just connect once. You stay connected. You find ways to stay connected, and I'll get more into more specifics, but that's my story for the day, and I hope it translated reasonably well. I'm off to lament the passing of a friend, and that in and of itself is surreal, and there's lessons to that as well. So please stay safe, please be well, please be accountable. Please keep your eyes open. There's lessons all around for all of us. And I urge you to get and stay connected. Connection is currency. Stay safe, everybody.